and welcome to the Meech Show podcast. I am your host, Meech, and I really wanted to take the time today and kind of talk to you guys one-on-one. You know, it's always good conversation with other people, and today we're gonna do something a little bit different. So I really just wanted to go into survival mode. You know, I feel like for me, I was born in Detroit, you know, being born Black, a lot of times this is a thing too, regardless of where you're from, we are born into survival mode. And by survival mode, I mean where every day is just about making it to the next day. Like every day is about what am I gonna eat, how we pay the bills. And so you're literally just surviving. And I feel like being able to survive is a great tool to have. It's a great resource, but it's a terrible place to live. To be in survival mode kicks you into this anxious, fearful, lack state, and to live there long term can cause PTSD. It can cause you to be in this race where you're chasing your tail and you're not really accomplishing. All you're doing is making it to the next day. And I don't know, I've seen so many people live that way. I thought that was normal. I thought it was normal to just be on this constant grind and hustle just to make ends meet, you know? And now I see that it's not the same. You know, I have the ability to survive. You throw me anywhere, I'm coming out on top. Like, I can guarantee that, and I get that from being in survival mode, having to move frequently as a child, or just coming from a place where it's a lot of poverty. So I have that ability. However, you know, I wanted more for myself, and I can remember when I started to want more. So just to kind of take it back a little bit and walk you through, like, I'm from Detroit, from the east side of Detroit, east side period. And you know, my childhood was absolutely amazing because I didn't know we were in the hood. I didn't know what the hood was. I didn't know that the whole world wasn't just like where I grew up, you know, so I had no idea, but it was filled with so much fun and laughter, and my mom made it absolutely amazing. She created us our own world in our home, you know, so my childhood was amazing. It was so much fun. But as I began to get older, and as I was exposed to more people and more ways of life, I began to see that maybe this is not the only way to live, and that I definitely wanted more for myself. That I knew for sure. Yeah, but there was survival all around me. I mean, and for me, we were doing well amongst the rest of my family. Like, my mom was corporate, you know, we had a few cars, we lived in a nice townhome in the suburbs, like at a point, my like teen years. So we were doing well. In comparison, we were doing better than a lot of people I knew. So I still didn't realize how much more there was to life, you know? But I can remember when I wanted more. I started to see my life differently outside of what my everyday looked like. Like, yeah, this is where I am. Yeah, this is what I'm doing, but I wanted so much more. I just saw my life luxurious. I saw things nice. I saw me wealthy. I saw me happy. And I've just always had this vision in my mind. And when I was 20 years old, I knew I had to get away from everything that I ever knew, which is not easy. Like, I left everything behind, everyone, to go towards better, because a big part of getting out of a survival state of mind is you gotta get around where it's better. So I packed up my little car with my $262, and I moved to Atlanta, and that was like by far the best choice I've made to date. That's like my number one good choice, sorry, but I knew I had to get around where people thought like me, and the conversation was different, because I was trying to have the conversations that I have here now on my podcast with other people. I was trying to have these conversations with people around me back home in Detroit, but the mindset was different, and their view of the world was a lot smaller, you know? So to them, I was talking crazy. That's what they used to say, like, oh, Meech talking crazy. She talking about manifestation, she talking crazy. You know, but I knew, just because everybody around me didn't agree, that it was still something to this. So step one was I had to get around where it was better. I guess really that's step two, because I had to believe that I could have more, that I could be more, you know? And then I packed up my car, I moved here, and I got a lot of good omens. along the way. There were some trials. It was hard. It was not easy, but I knew at every point, this is exactly where I wanted to be and this is exactly where I needed to be. And I also didn't give myself the choice to move back home. I said, no matter how hard it gets here, I'm not going back home. And Tony Robbins has this saying, I love Uncle Tony, but Tony Robbins has this saying, if you want to take the island, burn the fucking boats. Like, if you don't make a choice to go back, you can only go forward. And even if it's difficult, you'll find a way to progress. You'll find a way around whatever it is that's trying to stop you. So it was not easy, but quickly I developed my own tribe here, and I found friends that were like family, and we supported each other. Because the thing about Atlanta, I know people say it's like the Black Mecca and the Wakanda. I don't know who called it Wakanda, but because there is so much Black excellence here, is that there's a lot of like-mindedness. A lot of people here are from somewhere else, so they kind of all had the same idea to go somewhere else to achieve more, to be more, and that like-mindedness is kind of like the thing that threads Atlanta together, because it's the thing it's propelled my life where it is now, to keep connecting with like-minded people over and over again. Even people who are where I want to be, people who talk over my head. Like, I can remember when I first started having these entrepreneur accountability meetings, and they would be talking about business credit and when I say we talk about all things business, and it literally sounded like Spanish to me, but I just kept sitting in it. I just got comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I knew that one day it would make perfect sense to me, and now it makes perfect sense to me. So it did take some willingness to be uncomfortable, but being around like-minded people. So once I got around where it was better physically, I had to get around where it was better mentally, where it was better emotionally. There are things that we don't even consider where I'm from, like therapy, like actual wellness. That's just not the topic of conversation. And to get around where this is normal conversation, and how are you taking care of yourself and your business and your dreams? Are you going after your goals? When the conversation changed, I got around where it was better physically. I got around people who were in a better space. My life has never been the same from then to now. Nothing was ever the same. Nothing was ever the same. So I began to grow and build, of course, and that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother thing, because in growing and in building, you think you want to do this. When I came here, I thought I'd be a writer. You could not tell me, I always thought I would write. You could not tell me I was not going to be a writer. I am not a writer today. I'm doing something completely different, but I had to follow my path, So I say that to say you can't be afraid to fail. I'm not a really big believer in failure. That's why I always go failure, because anything that you try, anything that you do, even if you don't succeed to the place that you thought you would, it was meaningful. It was so purposeful. It's literally an intricate part of your story. You needed that. It's not even a failure, because hindsight is 20/20, right? We always say that. To look back, you're like, oh, if I hadn't done this, this wouldn't have happened. If I hadn't failed at this, and I would have never met this person that led me to this, So it's never truly failure. And that fear of failing or not doing things right, or not having the amount of success at something that you thought you would when you thought you would, stops a lot of us. But if failure is not really a thing, then it kind of brings that fear down a little bit, because failure is not really a thing, right? So I did not fail by not becoming a writer, but trying to write, it led me to other things. It led me to other people and other avenues. And so, I began to grow and I began to build. And one thing I started to deal with very early on in living here was survival's guilt. You usually hear about survival's remorse or survival's guilt from soldiers, or someone who was in some type of situation where other people died and they lived, or someone who was in 9/11 or something like that, and they feel guilty about being the person that lived and that survived. And I began to experience that when I would start to visit home. I didn't visit home for about almost a year of being here, but when I went back home and I saw that everybody was in the same space I left them, it's still the slums at home. Detroit is still very much what it was when you left. Everything is the same, different day. Same drama, same everything, different day. And I'm like the one who got out, and I felt a little guilty even leaving, like getting on a flight to leave, like I'm leaving people I love here. But it pushed me forward. I don't think we talk about it enough when you are like that, one of those first people in your family to become, to kind of blaze a new trail and do something different than your whole family history, I feel responsible for them. I don't know how I can be responsible for like 150 people, but I genuinely feel responsible for them and the kids and everybody, and it pushes me forward. But I definitely dealt with some guilt, some survival's remorse. Like, I got out of here and they're still here. They're still struggling. They're still unhappy, and I definitely dealt with that. But I allowed it to be fuel, because nothing pushes me like my family. Like, everything I do is because I want to have the capacity to change all of our lives. Like, I don't know if everybody can live how I'm gonna live, but we're gonna get close to it. You know what I mean? Like, I really just want to change the trajectories of life. If nothing else, show them what's possible. But I want to have that impact. So I turn that into fuel. I turn that guilt into fuel to push me further, because we do more for other people than we do for ourselves sometimes. And I know having them as a reason, having them as, a motivating factor has pushed me so far. But I say all that to say, always reach back. Everybody doesn't come from a super huge family like me. And even if you do, maybe those aren't necessarily the people you reach back for. But in anything that you accomplish and become, I almost feel it's a duty of yours to reach back and teach. And, to show people how you got where you are. And don't negate where you are, because you have some type of value to add to anyone. If you've grown, if you've learned something, if you've honed in on a skill, if you've tried something until it worked, you have something to offer other people. And I think you should reach back. I think the best part of achieving is to be able to give back. For me, there's no feeling, I haven't felt a feeling that matches with giving for me. So, always reach back for your families, reach back for your friends, not to a point where it puts you in a position where now you can't keep going forward, but reach back, reach back for the people you love, reach back for people you don't know. It's the reason I have this show, is because I now have the ability to have these conversations with people I always wanted to have these conversations with before I knew their names, their mindsets. I wanted to have a meeting of the minds with these type of people. I love these conversations. And so I have this podcast that, even though if you can't be in the room, even if you can't meet this person at a happy hour because you're not in vicinity or whatever your reason is why, you can still be a fly on the wall. You can still be in on the conversation. You can still get whatever it is that they're offering to give back, because we all got something to offer, including you. But this also is to stop that struggle cycle, because being in survival mode is struggling. It's just always struggling. It's always needing. It's always, putting yourself in a position where you don't have enough. It's a lack mindset. And the thing about being in a struggle cycle is that sometimes you subconsciously put yourself back there. It's not even nothing you do on purpose. If you are constantly in survival mode, you will perpetuate situations where you have to survive, because those are your skills. It's what you know to do. So you do things like overspend. You'll do things like, there's so many things. Let's just go with spending though. You're overspend in the beginning of the month, knowing you have this at the end of the month. So now you got to struggle and you have to do this to put yourself in this position, but having that awareness to know that everything is a product of what I'm doing. You aren't a product of just your environment. You're not just sitting here and life is happening to you. That's not what it is. You have such a bigger role in it, and I hope that you can understand even the things that aren't so pretty, even the things that are hard to swallow, that aren't palatable, that you have played a role in creating this life for yourself, which means that you also have the power to change it, right? A big part of it is just speaking life into yourself. If you believe you can, you can. I believe literally that anything is possible. That's just what I believe. I believe it so wholeheartedly. I believe things that probably sound crazy to people, and I'll just start saying them out loud. and really just believing them and speaking life into what I can do and what I can be all the time. I do it with the fear. I'm nervous sometimes. Even as many times as I've done my podcast, I still sometimes get a little nerves. I put myself in state and I just do it, because I believe that I can, and I believe that this is a part of who I am supposed to be. So I feel the nerves, I do it anyway, I shake back and let's get it, because I just speak that into myself. I believe that I am everything I see in my head, the dream, the vision I had of myself as a little girl. I am that woman, and that's just what it is. She'd be really proud, because that's who I am. And it's simply because I believe it. And I embody it. And I'm still not even her in the fullest sense, but I still hold that vision for myself. So, getting out of that survival mode and that constant struggle cycle, you gotta believe that you can. This is not some crappy life that was assigned to you to the day you die. No, you didn't just get the short end of the stick. And maybe there were a lot of factors that were outside of your control, but after a certain age, it's on you. You can't blame your mama, you can't blame your daddy who wasn't there, who did what, who inflicted what pain on you. It's on you now. And that's just the truth of it. But surround yourself with people and places who look like where you want to go. Sometimes I go to places, parts of town that, especially when I first moved here, that I didn't live in and I couldn't afford to live in. And I would go to restaurants that I could afford an appetizer if we being, budget conscious in here, or I can afford a cocktail, but I just needed to be in the room. I just needed to feel the feels, and I still do that. Sometimes I go and I ride through neighborhoods with these crazy homes, and I just picture myself driving my car up into the driveway, and sometimes I start screaming. I'm so glad I'm in the car by myself, because people would think I was crazy. Because I literally start screaming when I really start to feel the feeling of if this was mine, and it really gets real, and then, I get all excited or whatever. But I say that to say surround yourself with people who are the type of people you want around you. Even if you don't know them, go to the places they go. Even if you can't exist in that space in the way you see yourself doing it 5 years, in the way you can today, do it. If you can just dress up in your best whatever and go be in the room, go be in the room. Or just, if that's not even your thing, if you just want to go, if peace is your thing, if peace is what you seek, you find new ways to bring peace into your life. But what I say is whatever you're seeking is seeking you. So if you're seeking only just negative things, like if your thoughts are negative, your mind space is just a negative place where you're the victim and everything is happening to you, more of that is on the way, because it's seeking you, you're seeking it. But if you are seeking peace, success, longevity, great relationships, whatever it is that you call happy, that's also seeking you. So put yourself in the vicinity, and it'll start to feel familiar. And next thing you know, it'll be like your normal, natural environment. But the future that you want is within your grasp. And I know that we all weren't born with the same hand. We weren't dealt the same hand, but we still have the capacity to get to wherever it is we want to go. Some of the people who are the most successful came from nothing. They came from absolutely nothing. And some people that came from everything have absolutely nothing now. So it's just a matter of what you see for yourself, what you're willing to work for. Are you willing to be uncomfortable, get out of everything you've ever known, even if that means moving 10 miles down the road for a short time, just to get in a space where it's just you and your thoughts and you and your desires, and there's no one there to criticize and critique and tell or hold you to who you used to be, even if that was 10 minutes ago. You know what I mean? You have to be okay with being uncomfortable. So you are more than capable of getting out of this struggle cycle that you were born into. I don't care if you've been there 10 years. I don't care if you've been there 50 years. You have the ability to get out. And I believe in you. And the moment that you believe in you is possible. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you watch some of the other videos, because a lot of people I interview, they don't come for money necessarily. They just all have that same mindset where they believe something was possible and they didn't stop until they got it, and you can have that too. You have it already. It's just a matter of tapping into it. So thank you so much for watching. Follow me on Instagram @The Meech Show. Like this video, share this with a friend. Someone needs to hear it. I know I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna rewatch it for myself. I'm gonna just rewatch it just for me. So yeah, share this, like it, subscribe, all the things. I appreciate you guys being here, and I really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.